in this room feels or have ever experienced before that you have a challenge working or creating anything in a space that's cluttered? Show of hands. Yeah. Who's ever gone through some sort of cleanse or detox, maybe after the holidays or a weekend of partying, feeling like they needed to just lighten up a little bit? Cool. Now, for the people that raise their hands, who here also believes that whether or not it's cleaning out your car or purging out your closet or getting a colonic, that there's just something that is lighter about when you experience that experience and you create space for more goodness to come in? Yes. So I'm of the personal belief that the same thing goes for our inner work. That when we clear space for what's no longer serving, we create room for more expansion in our lives. So before I get into my story and share that a little bit with you, I'm going to start off and kick it off with 3 words that I'll circle back to. First is forgiveness. The second is receiving. And the third is soften. So forgiveness, receiving, soften. So my story goes like this. My name is Rhea, actually it's Anne Rhea Ignacio Baluyot. And I was born in the Philippines. I go by Rhea Anne or just Rhea. Oh, hello, Philippines. I came here in 1987, migrated from the Philippines with my parents. My parents had a huge goal to ensure that they moved us into our own family home sooner than later. And so what that looked like for me at 6 years old was moving quite often. And in elementary school back then, you didn't have things like Facebook or Instagram. So making friends was challenging, but keeping them and staying in contact was even more. And to top it off, I was like the shyest kid in school. Okay, a story within my story. Fast forward to when I was 15 years old. I was working at my first retail job ever at a jean store. This is how shy I was. I was so deathly afraid to speak to anybody that as soon as someone walked in the store, I would sneak off in the back and just fold. Like I didn't want to be seen and I didn't want to be heard. And when I think back as to why that happened, I'm sure that was based on various different life experiences. Again, going back, I moved often, so I experienced bullying at a very young age, up until high school. So I created this paradigm shift in my mind and this belief that it was hard to make friends and it was hard to be accepted for who I was. You know, I got into seeing my family working multiple jobs so that we can move into our own home. And that created this money story in my mind that you have to work hard for your money. And when it came to relationships, I got myself in abusive relationships or relationships that weren't not necessarily aligned with my overall health and well-being. And so I thought in my mind for a while that it was hard to find someone that really loved me for who I was. When it came to my health, you know, being diagnosed bipolar and going through depression and anxiety, being subscribed a concoction of pills, I mean, to the point where I was numb to my emotions. I was no longer happy nor sad or angry. It was just numb. And so I created this paradigm in my mind that it was even hard to be joyful. And so it wasn't until an actual shift occurred in my life, which was really the catalyst to when things shifted for me and turned around. And so there I was living the template life, working the 9 to 5, had a partner at a house, and over a course of what seemed like a few weeks, my whole world changed. Got laid off from my job, walked away from my partner, walked away from my house, got in a car accident, lost my car. Complete shift. And it was like a complete reset. There I was early 30s, no income, no place to live, all the creature comforts taken away. And I remember being in that moment where, you know, do you ever experience a time where you're going through something and you're there in your physical state, but there's this like observer in the back of your head or just observing that experience? And I felt that my physical body was going through, you know, the emotions of that experience, but my mind and this inner voice kept saying, it's okay. This is exactly the way it's supposed to go. And I remember that was really the catalyst of my healing journey. And I really wanted to just do 3 simple things. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get really quiet. And we have this voice inside of all of us, and I know I'm speaking to the choir, because there is that voice within all of us that at some point continues to speak, but it's our choice to listen. And we don't always listen because we're experiencing so many distractions. And so I wanted to listen to that voice. So I remember the first thing I did, everybody in my world was saying, Rhea, just get a job, just go apply, you'll be fine. But all I wanted to do was do nothing. I just wanted to wake up and walk in the forest and just listen. I also wanted to take care of my body and actually love myself, like love up on me. And then I also wanted to feed my mind just as much nourishment that I fed my body. And what I discovered in that journey is that I decided to choose to be love. And I know that sounds really cliche, like what do you mean choose to be love, Rhea, of course. But really, I really wanted to get present to what are those distinctions of being love? And so for me, I got really present to and I began to discover that love was really expanding more, softening more, forgiving more, being happy, being joyful, being light. And so if those are the distinctions of love, what are the distinctions of the opposite? What are the distinctions of fear? And so what I chose to follow is any time I was feeling love and I was feeling this expansive emotion, fear was something that was restricting, something that held tight, something that was controlling, something that was angry, jealous, all of the opposite emotions. And that was really my North Star, my guiding light, my beacon to help me make decisions in my life. And so what that led me to understand is that in that quiet, in that choosing to be love, I began to connect to the power within. Now, what I began to discover is that as I saw myself and connecting to the power within, I began to see the power in everybody else. And I'm of the belief that we're all reflections of each other. And so for me, the biggest lessons for me have been, if we're all reflections of each other, then everybody's just doing the best they can with what they know how. And so what I offer here today is if there's anyone here in the crowd that's hanging on to anything heavy, whether that's something that's happened to you in the past, whether that's something that's happened to you recently, something that's triggered you or confronted you, just know and understand that if we really connect to that power within, that power within is so expansive that when we pay attention to the temporary, how someone is temporarily being, or how that experience has temporarily showed up for us, we're creating that separateness of the power within. And I'm seeing some heads nod, so I'm seeing some powerful people in this crowd. Actually, I'm seeing everyone powerful in this crowd. Yeah, can I get an amen for that? So I just really wanted to share that piece. I came from a place where I was completely misaligned, and it took that quiet to get into alignment. Today, I'm blessed and fortunate to be helping some amazing people do great things, to really deploy amazing projects around the world by creating financial freedom in their lives. I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit where we, mentor young kids and young adults that are called to be leaders in this world. I'm at the love of my life. I live a life of adventure and joy and silliness. And I'm not sharing this to impress you, but I'm sharing this because there's something about anchoring ourselves down to recognizing that when we're great for ourselves, the world begins to be great for us so that we can in turn expand and contribute the way we're meant to, the way that we are meant to create in this world. So again, where can we forgive a little bit more? Where can we receive a little bit more? And where can you soften a little bit more? Forgive, receive, soften. Because when it comes to wealth, it truly is an inside job. Thank you.